Morning, this is the second part of the portal frame video. I'm going to backtrack a wee bit in case you all didn't get to the same place. I've opened up the portal frame, the frame and elevation view here, and the 3D view here, so we can see what's going on in 3D. I'll zoom in this corner at the top of this column here. This is where we'll do the work here. We'll do the editing in here, and I'll backtrack a wee bit. I'll take some of these haunches away. I'll even take this beam away, and the reference planes, I'll take them away as well. I've got one in here hidden away. Take that away, and I'll even take this one here. I'll take this one away, and I'll redo that bit from scratch so you can see how it appears in here. Okay, so structure, beam. And this is the larger beam that we previously loaded in. It's 406 by 178 by 74. That'll do fine. And I'm just going to use this framing elevation here. So, starting to the left of the left-hand column here, which these two columns, left and right, have been extended up to level 2. So they're a bit taller than these at level 1. And I'm just going to start off in here and give it some kind of angle. 17 degrees works fine. Now, one or two things you should check, and I should have checked before we start, is that the Z justification has got to be here on the top. And if it's set too high, clearly just need to move it up a wee bit. File editor, excuse me a minute, I'm just messing this up. Tidy that up. I just want to take a wee bit of this column away. I don't want to take a great chunk of it. So that's fine at that. Don't really care about the length because the length gets trimmed in any case. So I'm not caring about this dimension in here. Just need to overlap the central grid line on the left hand column, and in here we'll make this live so you can see in 3D. And then I'm going to put in the beam that will become the haunch. So zooming in quite closely in here to this 2D view and making sure the Z justification changes to bottom. That's fine. This catching the bottom of the beam basically. You can see it now. If it didn't land in the right place for you, don't worry about it, just move it. If it did land in the right place, that would be a bit of a fluke, really, to be honest. Just get it in there. And it's this area here, this triangle in here, that will form the haunch, and the rest of it will get trimmed away. We just trim it up, place it up until it looks kind of reasonable. And then you have to put in these things called the reference planes. The reference plane tool here, as soon as you select it, you've got a different tool to select, and I'll tell you what it is. Reference plane, we need to use the pick line option here. So I want these pick lines to be on the outside of the column here, and I want them to be on the outside of that beam and there. And it's a lot easier to see these lines if you just extend them ever so slightly. There's one in there, so because they hide. Okay. And then we're going to trim these away and tidy this up, and you'll see this haunch will kind of emerge. So modify, cut geometry, select the object, and then use the reference plane to cut it. Okay, now I need that one cut there as well. I also need the beam cut there, so it's shaping up kind of nicely now. And even the column is going to be cut away at the same angle, so this kind of chunk of column that's left protruding will disappear. So select the column and trim it there. And that's how your haunch should look. Select it and you can swing around about it. And that's that. Now we need to put in a central haunch. You could get away without doing a central haunch. Many portal frames don't have the central haunch. I'm going to put one in, just so you can see how it's done. Just double check again, Z justification bottom, that's fine. This is going to be the bottom of the beam then. And if you get it right again, it's a bit of a fluke. And I haven't got it right, so there, just move it until you're happy with where it is. Let me move this down a wee bit. And that looks to me to be about right. And then reference plane, and then again remember, pick line, and this time we need an offset of 25, not always 25. I've started going at 25, so I'll keep going with 25 as reference plane to offset from the middle grid line 3 by 25mm, and these will be trimmed just short of the centre of the structure. I need also to trim this, so I need to put in another one in here, another reference plane, and I just need it on the inside of the column, just to extend a wee bit so I can see it. And then I go to modify, cut geometry, and I want to cut that reference plane there, and then I want to cut that with that reference plane there, and then I want to cut the original beam that reference plane there. So these should be aligned. So if I come over here and look at this in 3D, I should see that I've got, eventually, I've got a central haunch. Can you see it? That's the central haunch. And I'm going to use this view now. I'm going to swing round about this haunch so it doesn't, the whole model doesn't disappear on me. And I'm going to come in a wee bit closer to it. And although we're doing generally model connections, I'm going to model a structural connection. And the structure is component model in place, and it's a structural connection I'm modelling. You should give it its full name. This structural connection is called a weld plate. And we'll just give it its full name. You can type properly, central weld plate, central haunch. That's its proper name. We'll just leave it as a structural connection, but I'll take the one away. Don't need to note it. It's one. That'll do fine. Now I have to set the work plane in here. And so I set the work plane. I choose the middle option. It says pick a plane, and OK that. And then in here, this gives me the face I'm going to work on, the plane which I'm going to work on. I'm just going to change that to thin line so I can see it a bit more easily. I'm going to do it again. And that's the plane I'm going to work on. Now, at this stage, it'd be nice if it said, yeah, you've selected the work plane. It doesn't. So I'm just going to go and I'm going to create this extrusion. Pick the line. I'm going to select the top line using the tab key. I'm going to select the bottom one again using the tab key. And in here, zoom in a wee bit, just a single line there, and again on this side, single line using the tab key. Then I tidy that up, just tidy it up a wee bit, join these up. You can do this manually, but this tool here, trim and extend to corners, is a useful wee tool. And finish that. It defaults to 250mm. This depth of this, clearly it's not going to be 250mm. If you remember, we offset this by 25mm, so I'm just going to reduce that down. And that will reduce that down for me. And then I can finish that model. That's a weld plate. I'm going to edit in place. I'm going to put some holes in this. So I'll go back to create. It's a void form. So avoid extrusion. Again, I have to show the work plane that I'm working in, so I'm going to select pick a plane, OK that, and this is the work plane I want to edit in. I want to make some holes in this, and you can get quite fussy in here. You can go into quite precise measurements. I'm going to make mine 25mm, and I'm just going to copy that void multiple times. I have to make sure this says multiple in here, and I select it by center, And again you can get quite fussy in here with the dimensioning. And I'm just doing it by eye just to get it done quickly so you can see it. Put 3 in the top, 2 in the bottom, but all at least aligned. So that will do me for my voids, either basically holes in the plate, and I wouldn't do them on the other side, but clearly if you can do them here, you can do them on this side as well. That'll make holes in them. These are going to be used for bolts or rivets, and you can't see it in the 2D view, the frame and the elevation, but it's definitely there. I'll finish that model. If I select it, you can see that we've modelled the central weld plate in here. Okay, that's the central weld plate modelled. As I said, we don't generally model structural connections at this level of detail, BIM level detail 2, just because hardware restrictions. Software would deal with the level of detail quite happily, but probably not hardware in many institutions. So we're making some progress here. Having modelled the central weld plate, I'm going to come over here and I'm going to mirror this half of a portal frame, including the central weld plate, which is in here. What's it there? And we've just modelled the structural connection. I'm going to mirror them against this central line, this central grid line 3, and I will include the reference planes, this reference plane here. And I'm going to over-select, filter out the things I don't want. I don't want the grid selected. I do want the reference planes. For the moment, I don't want the structural columns, but I do want the structural connection that I've just modelled that's going in, and the structural framings that you and I would call beaming. The beams, they'll go in, so I want to select those. And then I just use this tool here, mirror, and pick axis. I'm going to choose carefully the grid line here and not the reference plane to its left, so it's the grid line here, and it will just appear for me. I've got a tiny bit of housekeeping to do on the right hand side here. As you'll see, this column hasn't been trimmed, so I have to do that now, and I'm just going to do it in the usual way. Just cut geometry, select the column, and then trim it with the reference plane. Simple stuff. And that's going to be my portal frame that will get copied up through this structure here, and will become a portal frame. You can see why it got its name. It just looks a bit like a medieval door, at least I think it does, and that's why it's called portal. That's where the name comes from. So I'm going to make a group of this. Okay, I'm going to just make a group, and the tool here is called create group. And it's not group 1, we're going to call it portal frame. Portal, usual typing skill showing through. Portal frame. And make sure this tool here, the one on the left that says add, is blue. Then you just simply select the things. You simply select the things which are going to be part of this group, including the reference planes. So I'm going to choose haunch, the beam, central haunch on both sides, other beam, other haunch, and then I'm going to, the reference planes I've got to get selected. So that one, and this one that I can hardly see, but it's there. And then the two now which are in the middle, either side of the grid line, so that one there, that one there. Any more missing? That one up there, that one there. I've got all these. I don't have them all. If you don't have them, they should turn blue. That's fine, I've got everything there. The central weld plate, that needs to go in. And over here, I'm just left with the reference planes and the haunch. I think I've got the haunch, so it's the reference plane there. This one here I've got that one. I must have been extended from the other side. In a few minutes I'm going to put these columns in as well, but for the moment I'm just going to leave the group portal frame just with the beams. So zooming out here in the frame and elevation view, if I mouse over and click when I get the broken box to show the group, you can see everything which is in this group. And I've got my beams. And I'm going to go to come in here, select it, and this is the footings and pile cuts. I'll maximise that up so you can see it, and carefully I'm going to not select the group just yet. What I'm going to do is I'm going to delete these columns which are carefully placed at the beginning, but that was just to orientate the footings. So now, leaving the bottom right hand column, the one which is at intersection 5H, and the same, the one which is at 1H, this one in here, leaving these, because these are going to form part of the group in a few minutes. But I'm going to delete all of these other columns, up grid line 5 and up grid line 1, all of these. So it's a bit of a kind of be careful job. Hold the control key down. Select them all individually, just takes a minute. Delete. They should have disappeared. If you zoom in now, they should be away. Yep. Now I need you to do the same on grid line 1. Carefully leaving this one here. Selecting just the column. Find it. Remember, if you want to add to the selection, you press Control as you left click. To find the selection, you might have to hit the Tab key, which is what I'm doing here. So I've got them all selected. That's them disappeared. And if I check this in 3D, you should see that there's my columns all deleted and all at both sides. I'm going to use these columns, add them to the group, and then copy the group all the way up. And basically, this photo frame will be nearly finished. So I'm going to select the group, and I'll come into this frame and elevation. I think it's easier to work there. I'm going to edit the group and use this add tool again, and I'm going to add this left hand column here. There's this message about the element being detached from the grid. That's fine, just go with that. I don't care really, it's all going part of the grid. And that one there, same message, equally, didn't care about it then, don't care about it now, so there we go. That's the grid. Sorry, that's the group, and that's the portal frame group. All the columns are in, the reference planes are all in, and the beams and the haunches, and even the central connection, the well plates are in. So that's fine. So I'm now going to copy this up through the building. It is selected. So again, I have to go to copy, make sure this says multiple, because I'm going to copy it all the way up through the building. I don't want to copy it at once. So in here, group origin, copy, and then carefully place it in the center of the structure, all the way right up through. Carefully don't miss one, otherwise you'll have to go back and redo that particular paste in, or copy in. So it just takes a minute. You have to be careful. Much of this structural modelling, you've got to be really quite precise with it. It's just not like design of another kind, where you can be a bit more freeform. So you can see the portal frame structure is beginning to take shape. I'm going to put some beams in on level 1 now. This is level 1. These reference plane lines, I can make them disappear if you like. In fact, I'll do that, I'll show you how to do it. Visibility and graphics, it's a bit off-putting seeing the reference planes. Annotation category, scroll down to reference planes, and just make them invisible. Apply and OK, and that will disappear. I'm going to put in the beams on level 1. So level 1 structure beam. This is still the kind of heavier gauge beam that I used for the photo frame, so I'm going to throttle it down a wee bit. 305 by 165 by 40 is fine. This tool here is the grid tool, and if you carefully hold the control key down, you'll see that these beams are going to be inserted along that grid line all the way down. And then same with these along here. Hold the control key down, that's your beams. Check it in 3D. And it's them there, the famous spaghetti view. And then select all these beams, and we need to offset them by the value of the floor. Now the default concrete slab floor has a rather odd dimension. It's 211mm thick in this template. I'm going to change that to 250, and therefore I want these beams to be offset down the way, both in the start level offset and in the finish level offset of -250, so that the beams don't occupy the same 3D space as the concrete floor which they're supporting. I'm going to put the concrete floor in so you can see how it would look as an error, and then fix the error. That's quite a useful way of proceeding with this. So it's a concrete floor, so structure obviously, and I'm going to change this to the floor slab. I'm not just going to change the floor type to floor slab, I'm going to change its thickness from 211, which I think is an imperial measurement made into a metric measurement. 250mm, that's more standard. Apply that and OK that. And I want it to be offset beyond the columns by some value, usually 250mm, but that can vary, and I need you to keep your eye on that if it stays at 250. So it's rectangular, so I'm just going to use the rectangular tool. Yeah, let's change back to the 250, and zooming in to the top left hand side, I'm going to select the centre, the middle part of the column, and just pan across to get to the bottom right hand column down here, column 5H, and that's the offset, just 250mm. Just finish off the floor. Go back to 3D and we should see the problem. These beams are still got this edge justification at bottom, so they're drawn along the bottom of the floor, and they haven't been given a negative value offset, so they'll sit under the floor, i.e. support the floor. I'm going to fix all that now. Select one of the beams at SA to select them all, and I'm going to change, firstly I'll change the Z justification here from bottom to top. You should see them pop down a wee bit, and then select them again. SA, they're taking up the same 3D space as the floor, and we'll need them to sit underneath the floor, and the start level offset then has to be minus the value of the floor, which in our case is 250mm, and the same for the end level offset. They're going to be horizontal, so it's 250mm, both of them. And I just mouse over, and they'll offset for me, they'll apply that offset for me, and you can see that these beams are now sitting under the floor and lend in support. I'm going to copy all these beams down, I can select them, SA, I'm going to copy them all onto the clipboard and paste, align. I'm going to paste them down the way onto the ground level. The offset has been retained, you'll notice they're still at minus 250, and I'm going to do the same with the floor. Copy, paste aligned onto the ground level for the floor as well, and I've got two floors in, and that'll let you see the nice photo frame structure beginning more to emerge. Floors often help these things become more visible. The spaghetti view is good, usually it's not really that illuminating, along this east elevation and this west elevation over here, I'm going to put another row of beams, but I'm not going to put anything along here, on south or on north. I just simply want to copy these ones, holding the control key down. If you make a mistake like I've done, you have to hold the shift key down to deselect. Control, control, control. Copying them onto the clipboard, paste, aligned, and this lot are going to level 2. And it's fine, they're all in there, they've all got the offset minus 250, that's fine, happy with that. And do the same on this side here. You have to be quite careful when you're selecting. The model gets quite busy. Holding the control key down, that's them all selected. Copy this lot onto the clipboard and paste aligned up to level 2 on this side. And that shows you the comparison between the floor, which isn't really benefiting from the portal frame on this floor here. There's lots of structural columns going in here. They will put structural walls in here. Sorry, put partition walls in here. We don't need anything else structural in this building. Portal frame will do that for us. But the advantage of having the portal frame is the open space on level 1. And that's the end of the portal frame structure. Thank you very much. Bye bye.